Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals, Coffee House and Belgrose Funeral Home.
Good evening and welcome to Altos, a weekly news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and broadcast on Trinity TV and TTT. I'm your host Neil Parsonlal. Here's a look at this week's top stories. Search and rescue operations continue in earthquake-devastated Venezuela. We hear from one migrant ministry about their attempts to help with relief efforts. 50 years of service celebrated as Bishop Emeritus Clyde Harvey and Monsignor Christian Pereira praised for their role in making known to God's Caribbean people the loving kindness of God. Fueled by faith and hope, fired up for success, the Catholic News hosts another successful God at Work conference exploring just how our faith makes a difference in our work. And later we speak with Father Curtis Poyer about a pastoral guide for parish-led crime prevention and community transformation. Now for our top story. As Venezuela continues to grapple with the aftermath of the devastating earthquakes that struck on June 24th, the death toll continues to rise, with fears that tens of thousands of people who are still unaccounted for may have died. Search and rescue efforts continue, and across Trinidad and Tobago, urgent relief efforts are underway as Roman Catholic churches, non-governmental organizations, and the state rally to assist our neighbors in Venezuela. Altos reporter Dale Sideno visited the migrant ministry at St. Dominic's RC Parish in Pinal, where he spoke to the coordinator of the migrant ministry about their efforts to assist.
With search efforts now entering the second week following the deadly 7.2 and 7.5 earthquakes that struck Venezuela on the evening of Wednesday, June 24th, relief aid is being organized across the country in a number of parishes. In Pinal, the migrant ministry at St. Dominic's RC Parish says it has been working alongside Caritas in Venezuela, the Catholic Church body coordinating relief efforts. Coordinator for the migrant ministry, Christina John, told Altos conditions in Venezuela remain critical as the death toll from the disaster continues to rise.
We want to make sure that we get all that the Catholic Church in Venezuela receive those stuff, because we know that it will go to the correct hands. We know that the persons in need will really benefit of it. And we're trying to work with Caritas Venezuela. We make contact with different parishes in Venezuela. And we are working with Caritas. We speak to different archbishops already in Venezuela, and they are willing to work with us.
John says every contribution, however large or small, can make a meaningful difference in helping those affected by the disaster.
I would like to encourage persons to come and donate. It can be little or plenty. It makes a lot and it means a lot. The items that is most needed now is medication, medical supplies, hygiene products, baby formula, baby pampers, water and hygiene products.
Venezuelan priest Father Jorge Amundarain, who has been leading the migrant ministry since his assignment to Trinidad and Tobago in 2024, told Altos that although he wished he could be in his home country assisting directly, he remains committed to doing his part from here.
I feel sad not being able to help personally, but I fully understand what my mission is right now: to pray, to encourage, and to secure donations to help provide supply to those in need.
Donations are being accepted until July 8th between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. at the church compound located at number 5 Oliveri Drive, Clark Road, Pinal. Persons wishing to contribute can contact the migrant ministry using the numbers displayed on the screen. I am Dale Sideno, reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
We want to encourage everyone as well to contribute as much or as little as you can. 50 years ago, two young men stood before the altar and answered the call to serve. Half a century later, Bishop Emeritus Clyde Harvey and Monsignor Christian Pereira were honored not just for the years they've served, but for the lives they've touched. Roger Sant reports on a Golden Jubilee Mass held in their honor on Saturday, June 27th.
The Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception was filled with relatives, friends, faithful, and a number of priests in celebration of two priests whose ministries have helped shape the Catholic Church in Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean. Delivering the homily, Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon praised both men for their contributions, recalling the mission statement they started their journey with in 1976.
To make known to God's Caribbean people the loving kindness of our God. And 50-something years ago when the statement landed before them, I don't think they could have understood the importance or the impact of the statement on their lives, on the lives of our Caribbean people.
At the heart of priesthood, His Grace said, is being available and being present. And he praised Monsignor Pereira for his leadership style, saying priests were always happy to succeed him in a parish, not just for the living accommodation.
But you're also guaranteed a people who had been animated for mission and structures put in place to keep that people working together in harmony to move that parish forward.
As to Bishop Harvey, His Grace said he ministered in some of the most troubled areas of the country, but also stood alongside people living with HIV/AIDS at a time when they were rejected because of fear and stigma.
Bishop Clyde is one of our finest pastoral theologians in our region. He has managed to walk with people who have been in pain in ways that has been quite extraordinary.
Monsignor Pereira said he's always believed that priests are like great artists.
So as a priest, I saw my life and ministry as an artistic journey, enabling my parishioners to see the presence of God in themselves, but more importantly, in other people.
Looking back over 50 years, Bishop Harvey said they made the journey because of family and friends.
We would not be who we are if it were not for you, the friends who came into part of our life, the men who became our brothers in making this journey of life.
Reporting for Catholic News Altos, I'm Roger Sant.
And also on Saturday, Abbot John Pereira, brother of Monsignor Pereira, was also celebrated for his 33 years of priesthood. His Grace Archbishop Charles Gordon reminded the congregation of the history of Mount St. Benedict and its relationship to the priesthood.
Without Mount St. Benedict, we wouldn't have the other celebration that we have. We would not. It is a monastery against all the odds after 200 years of Rome insisting on a seminary that opened the seminary for us. And it is a monastery that first received the first young men and continued nurturing seminarians up until the 1970s when they handed it over. And that role in our history is so important that we really have to thank God for the monastery and thank God for the gift of Abbot John, thank God for the role that the monastery played within our archdiocese. Amen.
And we here at Altos extend congratulations to Abbot John, Bishop Harvey, and Monsignor Pereira. The Catholic News hosted another successful God at Work conference on June 27th at Cascadia Hotel in St. Anne's, continuing the theme of Fueled by Faith and Hope, Fired Up for Success. Attendees of the second annual conference heard from featured speaker David Isidore that as baptized Catholics, we share in the mission of Christ and are called to sanctify the world and our workplaces. Laura Pickford-Gordon was at the conference and prepared this report.
Speaking on the theology of work, David Isidore, project officer with the Ministry of Planning, Economic Affairs and Development, said baptized Catholics share in the mission of Christ through the prophetic mission, evangelization, and the priestly mission. He referred to a document from the Second Vatican Council which stated, through the lives of the laity, many people hear the gospel and recognize Christ.
It doesn't matter whatever you do, and it doesn't matter how big your position is and how small it is. It doesn't matter if you have a job or if you're looking for it. The work that we do, it matters to God. We participate in that priestly mission because it is the sacrifice.
Isidore, a convert to the Catholic faith, told the gathering that the Christian life will not be measured in titles and positions, but in how much Christ can be found in the work left behind. He said work carried a responsibility and can have a ripple effect on others.
I have to work. I'm not going to do anything shabby. We sanctify ourselves by growing in the virtues, and we sanctify others by sharing those Christian values, by showing the Christian values, one of which, importantly, is justice, using our talents more beyond our job scope, and making decisions that protect human dignity.
Delivering the homily at Mass to start the conference, Father Jesse Mingo spoke to the importance of having a close connection with God through the Mass and Eucharistic adoration.
Unless you carve out prayer time every day, I have no idea how you're going to be inspired to get ideas, to develop further your business, to be inspired.
Chairman of the Catholic Media Services Limited Board, Peter Gillett, delivered opening remarks, while the welcome was presented by Council General Manager Catherine Tardier.
The workplace is not just where we go to earn a living or to pay the bills, but rather all part of God's ongoing plan for us all.
This is Lara Pickford-Gordon for the Catholic News, Altos.
And faith met the workplace with a whistle, a little football flair, and plenty of surprises at the conference. It was a day where professional development felt more like a celebration thanks to Roger Sant. Altos reporter Keelan Jordan was there and files this report.
From the outset, Master of Ceremonies Roger Sant sets a playful tone for the day, telling the audience that in keeping with the spirit of football, he was not just an MC, but the referee for the proceedings. Whistle in hand, he jokingly warned attendees that he would be calling out any infractions as the program unfolded.
I'll be blowing my whistle.
Drawing laughter from the crowd. The conference itself brought together faith and professional life under the theme, Fueled by Faith and Hope, fired up for success too. The day began with Mass and also offered opportunities for confession and Eucharistic adoration. Beyond the main stage, a vibrant exhibition space featured 11 booths, including handmade artisan crafts by Nicole Clark, alongside contributions from Kuna Caribbean, Optometrist Today, Creative Concepts, Opus Dei, and many others, drawing steady interest throughout the day. There was also no shortage of excitement when it came to giveaways, with over 30 prizes up for grabs. Lunch brought a change of pace as attendees were serenaded by guitarist Stefan Roach. But perhaps the most entertaining moment of the day came after lunch, when attendees were invited to check beneath their chairs for prize numbers. This turned the ballroom dining area into a scene of playful chaos. The afternoon continued with sessions on leadership, financial literacy, emotional well-being, offering practical tools alongside spiritual reflection. In true football spirit, the high energy of the day gently eased into recovery mode with Christian meditation led by Sandy Bengoshe. Attendees stretch, breathe, and loosen up to soft background music, including a surprising touch of Shakira. This journalist, however, may have relaxed a little too well, drifting off to sleep mid-meditation. I am Keelan Jordan reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
And we asked some of those who attended to share their biggest takeaways from the conference. Here's a look.
Something that I want to say, struggle with is finding balance between work and God as a student. And I think events like this, conferences like this, really helped me recenter.
I would say definitely the panel session from this morning, where they highlighted how to incorporate your Christianity and your Catholic faith into the workplace, and ensuring that you can bring your Christianity wherever you go. It's not like a rigid thing where, okay, you're in church and, okay, set for church. You go to work and you can ensure that your workspace, your desk, that could turn into your altar too. So hearing that that discussion was very insightful too.
That was the biggest impactful message for me today, that we are not only called to be salt and light in the church community, but we are called to be salt and light in the workplace. And are we truly living out our identity in God's eyes? Are we really truly being who God calls us to be in the workplace?
In terms of that theme with faith and hope, it kind of struck a light bulb for me, right? In terms of with that, hope, and both of them go together. Yeah. And sometimes, we have faith, but we don't have hope. Yeah. You need to have both.
I think it was very stimulating. As a non-Catholic, I enjoyed the fact that you all opened it up to people who were not of your faith, and you learned so many things. AI, I found that the father, is it Mango? I found that his what you all called it, homily, was really, really inspiring. It was inspiring, and every single session that I've been to thus far has been inspiring.
And I want to say to the organizers that I hesitated before I came here today, but today I realize that I would have missed a lot if I did not come. Thank you very much.
It's time now for us to take a short break, and when we return, we speak with Father Curtis Poyer, Chairman of the Catholic Commission for Social Justice. Stay with us. Thanks very much for staying with us. A lot has been said in the country about crime and what's the Church's response to crime and criminality on the whole. The Catholic Commission for Social Justice has prepared a document and will launch it shortly, entitled A Pastoral Guide for Parish-Led Crime Prevention and Community Transformation. We are fortunate to have on set with us today the Chairman of the Catholic Commission for Social Justice, Father Curtis Poyer. Father, welcome to the Altos set.
Thank you very much, Neil, and Trinity TV.
It's good to have you. You've been away from the limelight for a long time in Mexico, and you're back with us now.
Yes, yes.
Father, the pastoral guide. Why a pastoral guide to crime prevention and community transformation? Why this from the Church now and now?
So, crime prevention, crime mitigation is not just the job of the police. It is also the job of communities, of parishes, of zones, in partnership with the government and partnership with, by partnership I mean networking with all these different agencies. But where statistics are concerned, you could either do it in the form of general statistics and getting together numbers, but you could also do it on the basis of what happens to the individual, what happens to a family, what happens to that particular business in your parish and in your zone. How does that affect you? And there are steps that we can take as church, as faith-based communities, to be able to help to reduce crime, to be able to anticipate danger situations, to be able to see what is happening, what kind of urban and growth there is in the community. If there are centers of finance that attract criminals, what should we do? How should we move about? There is a general fear in the population, and the population just feels, you feel very unsafe when you walk down the road and when you walk into particular areas, or when you walk back to your own home, even at night time, you know, if there's somebody following you, and if you go to the bank and you might just happen to withdraw something, and then you might see somebody following you. So it is something that we ourselves as communities, as faith-based communities, we can also contribute to lessening, to reducing the indexes of crime, the indices of crime that we see. And the parish is a good way, the parish itself is as community of communities, is a good way of helping people to become conscious of what is happening in their communities, what is happening around their communities. So when we say a pastoral guide, what we mean to say is a guide that is faith-based. It is from the parish itself, the parish structures itself, that can help people to be able to identify, to analyze, as it were, what is happening around them, what is happening within their communities. We had a situation recently where a little girl from one particular Catholic school was put into a vehicle by one of her relatives. And the idea was this little girl from a Catholic school was staying with the relative. After such time, the relative then called up a vehicle, and not knowing who the driver is, you putting a minor into a vehicle and sending that person to somewhere. You don't know who the person is, you don't have any idea. Those are kinds of things that could have been prevented, right? And whenever you're dealing with minors, with children, you don't just put them into any kind of vehicle and say, well, take them here to there, right?
But Father, what then are some of the recommendations of this pastoral guide?
Right. So one of the recommendations is that, first of all, we use a methodology called See, Judge, Act. See means to say that we try to become aware of what is happening around us. So first of all, systematically, the parishes have to get together a little committee, which we could call a parish social justice committee. Their first task is to see, to begin to pick up on the news of what is happening in their communities, where there are rumors of abuse, where there's some evidence of robbery, where there's some evidence of kidnapping, where there's some evidence of some kind of a drug trade going on in their parishes. They have to have the antenna, begin to put out the antenna, so to speak, right? Exactly, exactly. And we have the images of the satellites, right? From satellites above, you could see what's happening. We have to do something like that. We have to begin to become more sensitive to the kinds of things that are happening around us. So that's the C part. Right. And then we could begin to compile information about what is happening. Some zones are a little bit questionable. We see certain things happening. We have to begin to note it down. We see certain vehicles coming into the community. We have to begin to take note of it and so on. That's the C part. After we compile this information, then we could begin to catalog or to collate and begin to see patterns in the information. So that is the C part. In a nutshell, right? It's a little more complicated than that, but in a nutshell. Then we have the judge part. That is, we understand that each person is created in the image of God, and we are images of Christ. So the perpetrator and the victim, when the perpetrator commits a crime, whether the perpetrator be an individual or a group, then the image of Christ in us is distorted. The perpetrator, by committing the crime, distorts the image of Christ as a loving, just person, and the victim, who is the victim of injustice and violence, is distorted as well. So that's the judge part. We see that these things really, what it does is not God's plan for us. That certainly is not the way that we should go. The church never encourages people to break the law. The church encourages people always to follow the law, but not only the law of the land, but also the moral law and the moral laws that we have. So the judge part will be that those things that we see happening in the community are not God's will, it's not the law of the land, and therefore we move now from the C to the judge to the action committee part of it, right? Where the community begins to take responsibility, to begin to network with organizations that report on crime, and there are like television shows which do that, to report to the authorities that such and such a thing is happening, to give them the information, and to try to do it in an anonymous way. Because what is happening is, this is all over the world. The violence committed by the criminal or the perpetrator is very often very violent. in an attempt to silence any kind of a witness or any kind of a, to denounce.
Right. So it's see, judge, act. Okay, that's about all the time we have for today, but we certainly want you to come back after the document is launched, to come back to talk a little bit more about how do we form these parish committees, and what's the impact or what we expect from each of these committees.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks very much. So Father is asking and the committee is asking us to see, judge, and act, because we too have a responsibility when it comes to crime and criminality in our communities. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
In this Sunday's issue of the Catholic News, Father Stephen Alexander writes in the Catholic Commission for Social Justice column that the two devastating earthquakes that struck Venezuela offer a timely opportunity to put the principle of solidarity into practice. Autistic adults of the Bethesda community, 4 persons with disabilities, visited Sensory Safari last month. There's a report on the Family Life page. And registered dietitian Cherise Bronte Tinque shares on some local favorites to satisfy your taste buds. Here are the clergy anniversaries for the coming week and the coming events. I'm Raymond Sims, editor of the Catholic News.
As part of the God at Work conference, there was a panel discussion that challenged professionals to see their daily labor not just as a means to an end, but as a sacred vocation intimately connected to their faith. The conference brought together leaders from the corporate sector, small business, and religious life to explore the intersection of faith, leadership, and professional success. Claire Chabes has more in this sponsored segment.
This sponsored segment of Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Belgrove's Funeral Home. We do more than just say we care.
This year's panel featured one of Altos presenters, Neil Parsonlal, CEO of PEA PSL Consultancy Limited, Candice Clark-Saloom, Corporate Relations Manager for Shell Trinidad, Deacon Hilary Bengochea of Our Lady of the Rosary of Fatima RC Church, and Chelsea Jardine, founder of Dough Bomb Donuts. For Parsonlal, integrating faith into the workplace begins with a simple mantra: through him, with him, and in him, for the glory of God the Father. While Clark-Saloom shared a turning point in her leadership journey that came 15 years ago when she was preparing a meeting for a faith-based NGO and was told the agenda made no room for the Holy Spirit.
I have found that as I consciously and intentionally approach my job as a vocation from God to lead people to God through work, work becomes a prayer. My entire day is a prayer. Every meeting is offered.
Deacon Hilary, who spent over 20 years in corporate leadership, including as marketing director of Carib Brewery, reflected on the gospel passage where Jesus asked his disciples, "Who do you say that I am?"
Very often I have had to ask God that question myself, because over the years, in many positions, many persons have said who I am. If I listen to who people tell me I am, I can get very distracted in life, because they can tell me, "Hilary, you are the marketing director of Carib Brewery. Hilary, you are the consultant on this particular state project. Hilary, you are a corporate decision maker and we want to hear on the board, what is your decision?" And then I have to ask myself, but you, Jesus, who do you say I am?
Chelsea Jardine touched on 3 values she tries to maintain:
truth, trust, and responsibility. Because as Deacon says, you know, like, who are you? You know, that people would often refer to me, like, wherever they see me in Price Smart or whatever, and say the donut girl, because that's my identity almost, that I'm this donut girl. But it's so much more. It's I'm me in the middle of the world trying to be the best version of myself, but along that, bringing others with me.
The God at Work Business Conference continues to provide a space for professionals to explore the intersection of faith, leadership, and professional success. I am Clysha Best for Catholic News, Altos.
This sponsored segment of Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of Belgrove's Funeral Home. We do more than just say we care.
July 2026 marks 3 years since Altos was launched. As you know, it's a news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News, and the program has grown from strength to strength by God's grace through the commitment of our sponsors and you, our viewing audience. All of this is made possible by those who work behind the scenes and in front of the cameras to bring you the most up-to-date information. As we go, we leave you with some of the images of the team behind the show and thank you for helping us to grow in faith. We pray for your continued support as we enter our 4th year. God's blessings to all for a safe, peace, and productive week ahead.
Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House and Belgrove's Funeral Home. We do more than just say we care.